How's it going, David?
Hey, Stu. Oh, right.
I just turned the sound on. Okay, the temple. So where else have we seen the work of Rodriguez?
Uh, don't. I don't think we have. I don't know anything about him either.
Okay, yeah, rather dark imagery. Okay, adaptation artwork. Hernan Rodriguez. Okay, look up this guy.
Hi, my name is Hernan Rodriguez. I'm a commercial portrait and celebrity photographer. Trust is the most important thing in any image. I've been working with Evander Holyfield for maybe about 12 years.
Don't know if that's the one.
To me.
Uh, Hernan Rodriguez. Might be a very common name for all I know. Comics. Comic book creator. Uruguay.
Yeah, yeah.
Something about read comic online, the temple. See, so he's done a few Lovecraft themes ones. Exposition Critica Philosophia de Leibniz. Oh, that might interest some people. Oh, that's Bertrand Russell. What the hell? All right, so Hernan's guy called Hernan Rodriguez translated it. So did he is that the same as the same guy? So he did the Le Temple in 2008. Well, first published anyway. Okay, he's done another one after that, Visions 1, Visions 2. Well, I would say pretty good art. Uh, looks like his English is good.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's an interesting page 10. When the coot trapped in the castle or whatever it is, sees the silhouettes of the moon. It's quite a good mental buzz out of that one. And when it was opened, I fell into one of the most pure estaques that I've ever known. Eventually, of course, he'll get rather used to the moon. And then it won't be so exciting anymore.
Mm.
It's a bit like Huxley claiming the brain is a reducing valve for the intensity of experience. So on that first occasion, a lot gets through. Okay, he's wandering away from the ruins. It's, right, so they crash a party. And he scares a lot out of them. So this guy's sort of a bit like a vampire. the stranger. That is what the gods told me. He's been talking to the gods. Maybe he's a ghost. Flying with the crows. Okay, we have some sort of a strange looking creature at the end. Some sort of Cthulhu creature. Oh, well, yeah, don't know what exactly that one was about. What do you reckon?
Hmm. Well, yeah, Lovecraft was never one to explicitly explain what exactly is going on.
Okay, the outsiders. Details the miserable and apparently lonely life of an individual appears never to have made contact with another person. So we're talking about a person who's been withdrawn and his image of the world is built on Fantasia. All right. So he was a ghoul at the very end, sees his reflection in the mirror, and discovers they're a ghoul. Oh well. The music of Eric Sand. Okay, they have a woman as the main character, was originally a man. So that's one change. Finds himself with an odd person in an odd place, which vanishes. Right. Oh, it's probably fortunate for Lovecraft he lived in the 1920s. Would he have made it anywhere else?
Oh, fungal nail alert! Rejuvenate!
It's looking for the pronunciation.
So to say more interesting but confusing names for HP. So make sure to stay tuned to the chair. Up or down. In, on, down, down.
Are you good with that one? The Lufthotep. Quite a mouthful. Okay, Watchmen 7. Still haven't done Watchmen 6. And next week we're back on the graphic canon.
Yeah, as always, however much you can do, and maybe we'll get to the end, but no pressure.
I think yeah, should be able to get to the end for this one. So it's starting around page 400.
Most likely. I always say Nyarlathotep. Nyarlathotep. Yeah, it's hard. Nyarlathotep. Nyarlathotep.
No, Lethotep.
I mean, it's what seems logical to me. Nyarlathotep.
Okay, so Nyarlathotep. That's it. Okay, he's appearing like the third Antichrist, page 39. Since he's obviously wicked, leading the masses, like Hitler. Jung claimed that Hitler was a man possessed by an evil spirit, whatever evil spirits are. So this particular monster can appear as a pleasing human and fit in with the common social graces, unlike some of the other monsters. The nameless city. Oh, it's a bit easier to fathom. So some guys in the Middle East are looking for a fabled city which only appears when Betelgeuse is in the ascendant. And they find a city full of dead monsters. Something wipes them all out. Okay, break something which contains some sort of poison which dissolves him. Around page 56. It'll take 20 years for Betelgeuse to return to its zenith. So apparently can't get out. Suicides. Okay, the temple, which was one of the more famous ones, it seems, the story about the U-boat. Page 66. It's a funny thing that, this U-boat's got some sort of a fueling port. Well, it wasn't typical. Seemed to spend an enormous amount of time underwater, those earlier submarines, World War II and that. Submerging was just normally a temporary thing. Had to run on batteries when they were submerged. It seems that the comic seems to suggest the submarine spends a lot of its time submerged. But there's the other problem is the build-up of CO2. It's something that sort of wasn't sort of completely fixed up until about the late 50s. So they could run a large submarine with ways of absorbing the CO2 out of the air. I was looking at the stats of one, it was the Nautilus. When they went on the first journey underwater, they said their oxygen levels fell to about 18%, and the CO2 got up to about 3%. That's about 30,000 parts per million. And when you live at that level of CO2 for a few weeks, your body starts to suffer from all sorts of problems. You end up with calcium deposits building up in all the wrong places and stuff like that. And you actually have to spend quite a long time in normal air again to recover. But I read the Lovecraft story, seems to have some strange idea that the submarines had some sort of these early ones had some way of regenerating the atmosphere, which was purely fiction. Was something experimented with. It's quite possible to absorb CO2 by using chemical kits, and so to speak, cleaning it out of the air. You ever watched any of those World War II movies about submarines?
Does Mr. Roberts count?
Well, that's a surface ship, yeah. You always got this thing, they're, maybe it's an American submarine, they're trying to sink Japanese ships, they dive, they're on silent running, and they're stuck under water for a long time while the destroyer's still patrolling overhead, and they're all sweating and stuff like that. And it's, well, the increase of CO2 in the atmosphere, and it becomes a struggle to respirate. I didn't realize, but reading up here, the oxygen level falls a little bit as well, which is bad news. And it very much affects your mind. You know, your mental coordination and everything starts to suffer very badly. So, well, you would start to go a bit crazy. That should please Lovecraft. Okay, German captain, will to power. There's another bit, you know, the guy's using a searchlight underwater, which just wasn't the story with those submarines back in those days. And he's got the exhaust stack raised while he's underwater. You'll see there's a little pipe sticking out above the level of the conning tower. That normally when you go underwater, that gets lowered. Okay, puts on a deep sea diver's suit. They need an air supply. So it's probably got a limited range, couldn't really go that far. So he goes out to investigate the city. So he looks like he meets some sort of god in the temple. Yeah. Some of this stuff reminds me of Irwin Allen's 1960s stuff. I had the Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea, a submarine, running in the strange stuff like the Flying Dutchman and whatever. Published in Weird Tales. So it looks like the public's reading taste depended on what they liked versus the ability to produce it. And of course, this was an age in which you could produce a cheap, relatively cheap publication that wouldn't have got past anything years before. He assumes that it's the ruins of Atlantis. Canadian animator adapted the story to an animated short film in 1922. That's curious. Okay, I only got a trailer for it. I guess it's a question of being in the right frame of mind to contemplate this particular comic at great length. See what you can get out of it.
I think you could kind of say that about all of Lovecraft.
Yeah, well, it's the imagery of a fairly withdrawn person. So according to Jungian theory, he's in great danger of being possessed by the archetypes. Uh, so Jung's theory is that you have a load of inbuilt archetypes which enable you to function as a being, but you're using those as a map, as a guide to reality. So reality can be a bit different from your archetypal images. There's a guy in the Sea of Faith Facebook, which David Miller runs, trying to do the phases of religion, and he jumps through organized religion. So, you know, starting with something like the Egyptians up to the modern age. And I make the point, well, there's a huge division when certain religions create an absolute God. That one didn't work with him. That was Kenneth Smith's big point. You know, this is really a whole new trip, the all-powerful God compared to the pagan gods. But this guy in Sea of Faith didn't see that one, saw them as being something very similar. An all-powerful God that cannot be challenged. Cannot be brought down. There's nothing that can defeat them. Yeah, I was talking with Derek a bit on Wednesday night. He wasn't too happy with my bluntness.
No.
I get that with a few people. I'd accused him of being naive. What else did I say? I said he was rigid, but then again, I say everybody's rigid. He's into value theory, axiology. You've ever come across that? Of course, Marx produced a materialistic value theory in his economics, but this is talking about our ideas and feelings, so to speak, axiology, what goes on in our mind. But I would say that it's very kindred to rationalism and idealism, and I felt Derek's adopting a very idealistic position. The amazing thing with idealists and rationalists is that they believe they're realists. You know, it's the natural reflex for most people is to start off as an idealist and a rationalist. Well, Nietzsche's an example of somebody that translated from that to something that was very different. Left the rationality behind him, so to speak, and got into dynamism. Like from an ego point of view, I'd say when you're a rationalist and idealist, they most tend to believe that their ego is like some irreducible nut in the universe. And they believe everything flies around that ego. But if you get into, say, dynamism, you start to see your individuality as just another part of the universe. Whereas for a rationalist, their ego is everything. Somebody like Nietzsche started to contemplate just how much his feeling of self was simply just part of the big machinery of the universe. Okay, Watchmen 7. So Silk Spectre is hanging around the Owls studio.
Well, you said you hadn't read 6 yet. Should read 6 first.
Okay, number 6, The Abyss Gazers also. It's on page 4. So Rorschach is now a prisoner. He's been unmasked.
Mm.
And he's been given Rorschach blot tests by an investigator. Okay, he's tripping back into his past. Okay, his mother's having sex with a stranger. Listen, he's kind of backwards. Please don't get mad. Okay. Oh, so his mother was a prostitute. I went to the films a couple of weeks ago and saw the second of the Joker films. The Phoenix Joker films, anyway. Lady Gaga as Harley Quinn. I assume you haven't seen it.
No.
You didn't see the first Phoenix Joker, did you?
Yeah, I saw that.
What'd you think?
Not much.
Yeah, I was quite impressed by it. Probably I was in the right frame of mind at the time and,
Hmm.
feeling pretty out of it.
Hmm.
And yeah, it spoke to me quite strongly, the first film, but it does seem to have made a big impact. And the sequel is a pale reflection of the original.
Hmm.
But the sequel's okay movie to watch. Continues sort of the same theme. He's a guy who's fantasizing he's a supervillain called the Joker. In the second film, he seems to be in the confines of an insane asylum, but somehow fantasizing he's being put on trial for his murders. Okay, so the Joker wasn't your type of film. Has there been any particular films that have grabbed you a lot?
My favorite films, you're asking?
Oh, that'd be a curiosity, yeah. David's selection.
Fantasia.
You got a list, have you?
Fantasia.
Well, Fantasia's one of your favourites. I think that's the only Disney, that was the only big Disney cartoon I ever saw.
Sorcerer's Apprentice.
It's a
Good lesson. Dangers of hubris.
sorry, I didn't catch that.
Sorcerer's Apprentice.
Sorcerer's Apprentice, or that was oh right, that's a sequence from Fantasia, right? Okay, yeah, I suppose you admire Fantasia for its creativity, which was certainly a Disney film that was going out on a limb, but it was also originally the least successful of the big Disney productions.
Yeah, that's right.
Maybe the parents were keeping the kids away. Let's see what we feature. Certain degree of nudity, demonology. Let's see all the things you'd take a 1950s kid to see, I guess. Wonder what Walt Disney thought about it. I assume he wonder how much he was connected to the production. He was a producer, of course. Yeah, I was sort of always curious, and now looking up, I found out why that the Bugs Bunny show, the cartooning and all that became a bit lackluster when the Warner Brothers studio went. Okay, Philadelphia advertising agent filed an injunction suit in an attempt to prevent the film being made. Okay, somebody was going copyright. Oh, so we could build the temple to the god of copyright infringement with a huge statue of Hale and Ellison to worship. It's a theme of one of the pop classics, Baker Street. You've ever heard that one?
What, the song?
Jerry Rafferty came out around about 79, I think. It's sort of based on his own experience. You know, he's a musician in London. And the story is actually about him struggling with copyright infringement. So he's going to see an agent and he's just walking down the street. You haven't heard of that one?
No.
Oh. I reckon one that's definitely worth giving a listen. So it sort of represents like, you know, there was a glorious 1960s with all the excitement, and then 1970s came and the hippie trip crashed. Oh, sorry, there's one you can waste 6 minutes of your time on. It's a bit like Goodbye Yellow Brick Road. That's, you know, about the death of the hippie trip. Okay, Baker Street was written on Rafferty's second solo album. It was his first album after the resolution of legal problems surrounding the breakup of his old band Stealers Wheel in 1975. In the intervening 3 years, Rafferty had been unable to release any material because of disputes about his band's remaining contractual recording obligations. Rafferty wrote Baker Street while trying to extricate himself from his Stealers Wheel contracts. He was regularly travelling between his family home in Paisley, Scotland, and London, where he often stayed at a friend's flat on Baker Street in Marylebone. Okay, the resolution of Rafferty's legal and financial frustrations may have accounted for the exhilaration of the song's final verse. So it's pain produces art. That's the theory. What do you reckon, David?
This one can deny that.
It's a bit like Madonna. Whether you like her or not, she had an output in her early days. Then Sony put her on the contract, and her artistic endeavours declined. So she spent years simply trading on her old fame and going slightly mad. It's what happens to you when you live in a castle. Okay, so from being an unknown, this one song gets near the top of the charts for multiple weeks. Yeah, I think I found your soul song there, David. Jokers to the left of me, clowns to the right of me. That must have summed up your time hanging around in bars in Hollywood. You know the song, I assume.
Yeah. I know that one.
You would have heard it and thought, yeah, that's what I feel like. So he did have one big hit with the group. I'll send that one to Matali. I think she'll like that one. They'll sum up her experiences in the Australian Catholic University studying teaching. Yeah, she was talking about some girl at the course, tall, Nordic-looking blonde who dresses up like Harley Quinn and literally comes to class that way. All the other students say she's mad. Most of them are Asians, of course. But then she said this particular student liked Donald Trump, and I said, well, she can't be all bad. Well, Natalia has a taste, of course, for anime movies, which never seem to grab me. They always look so trite and ridiculous as far as I'm concerned. I have seen some Japanese cartoons. I think the very early ones I appreciated, the ones that were coming out in the 60s and that. And the animation style got very serious, but as an expression, they seemed to decline, but there was Vampire Hunter D, which I like the second one of a great deal. I thought that was quite good, but seem to be all a lot of these Japanese anime stories seem to be at the level of sort of pubescent frills. You know, it's like people that are institutionalized, going to school and caught up with cute girls with unrealistic breast sizes. It's something's just wrong there. So Dave, what's grabbed your attention this week? Anything stuck out?
Hmm. Um, hmm. Yeah, a couple of things on YouTube that I just found that I like. Interesting channels that I didn't know existed.
Yeah, you might have to speak a bit louder.
Sorry. Found one YouTube channel that I thought was interesting enough to pay attention to.
All right, okay. Like, okay, YouTube channel. Uh, yeah, stick it in, see what it looks like. Moon. Men are slowly giving up and nobody cares. How America became so stupid. Okay, I was showing Natalia some bits out of a movie called Empire of the Sun, which I assume you must know rather well.
I've seen that. Yeah.
It had the very young Kristen Bale, and of course, famously, he's our favourite Psycho. As I was pointing out, the funny bit is the American population didn't notice the film was a farce. That's how lost they are. How America became idiocracy. Inside the secret sex parties of the ultra-rich. Your future is in trouble. Minority Report tried to warn you. Well, we're seeing vast evidence that the world has a way of evening things up. That you can gain vast amounts of wealth only to become incredibly stupid. Dubai is everything wrong with society. That's one I've seen. 1984 tried to warn you. Okay, did see that one. Why men love American Psycho. Discord, the most evil business in the world. Breaking Bad tried to warn you. Okay, this looks like a rather pessimistic outlook. I have to give Kim Kardashian, how America became so stupid. Well, this is Kierkegaard's warning, isn't it? That if we live our lives to satisfy our primitive aesthetic, beware. Saying, he's saying rise above that to exercise some responsibility and rise further again to achieve direction. But certainly, let's say America's path and Western civilization along with it has deserted direction and responsibility for the aesthetic. And it's not even a very good aesthetic. And they seem to believe that was what Nietzsche was suggesting, to follow that path. And he's not exactly saying follow that path. He's simply saying the aesthetic is a drive.
Oh, just a few days ago, there was a
You might a little bit louder, please.
just a few days ago there was a another presentation from that one channel that you went to once. It was about comics again, but about some of the history of things that might conceivably be considered comics historically, like things like Bayeux Tapestry and things like that. You might have been interested in it. It's on YouTube.
Oh, right. Yeah, I do remember, I think, didn't you invite me to one where somebody was looking at ancient artworks
Yeah.
some time ago? Did that have the something about? Ah, right. That was a medieval tapestry of some type, wasn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, same channel, but
Was it? I know there's a story of the horse or donkey that gets made the king or something like that, which is, of course, a rather subtle satire that can end you up in hot water if you're in the wrong part of the Middle Ages. So the sort of progressive sophistication of medieval civil culture and civilization, which is probably underrated, the later Middle Ages. I mean, modern times probably loosely thinks they're a pack of dopes, but actually from about, well, the real Dark Ages was probably in between the fall of the Western Empire and the rise of the Frankish Empire. After that, Western Europe had that very powerful entity of the Frankish Empire to hold it together. So the real depths of the Dark Ages were about maybe 300 or more years. Just when the Huns left off until the rise of Charlemagne, I guess. There's a claim, I don't know how true it is, I have read about it, that doing the DNA sort of tracing, they claim 90% of Europe's genetic lines disappeared in the course of that early Dark Ages. By about the 9th century, it had become relatively stable, but there was something big and dark going on for those few 100 years.
yeah.
I think, wonder how much historical stuff Lovecraft did. I think looks like most of his stuff was sort of contemporary, wasn't it?
I would say so, yeah.
Well, all right. Sex. Inside the secret sex parties of the ultra rich. It's a bit like that image of the moon. That there is a rare experience where sex is unusually powerful, and especially when you're new to it. But eventually the reducing valve of the brain gets involved and you just sort of get used to things. And there is that inkling, it's like with drugs or whatever it is, that you're looking for a peak experience. And it's not that easy to grab. And it's actually, ultimately, it's a misadventure, because it's probably better off just to accept your limitations and cruise with that. So apparently there's a story that the monks are very rich and powerful, that they'll do anything. To reach some sort of peak experience, and say something like sex, and there's a dark side. So okay, yes, Natalia. So went to Parkmore earlier. Her friend who she's studying with got lime bubble tea, and she got Earl Grey cheese foam tea. Wonder how much they spent on that stuff.
Uh, 12 emails, 30 messages.
YouTube's up there advertising, or doubled it, I think, by the way it looks. What do you reckon?
Yeah, I think I've noticed that too.
bits of it, yeah. The violent bits. Yeah. Yeah, you see, I am a colossal pervert. No form of sexual depravity is stood over me. Animal, vegetable, or mineral, I'll do anything to anything.